Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am sharing the meal that I prepped for my friends meal swap that we do about every 6 weeks. It's just a bunch of friends from our CrossFit gym, and we basically all are moms. Some of them are about to be new moms, so it's awesome that they will have these meals in the freezer, and then we're just going to keep continuing making these meals every 6 weeks and swapping with each other. So I am making buffalo chicken meatballs, and you can see here I'm doing 3 pounds at a time, which gives me approximately 48 meatballs in the end. So in here, each recipe calls for 1 pound ground chicken, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and that's all that goes into the mixture, and then you're just going to watch me mix this up. And a little bit more about the meal swap. So we would usually cap it at about 10 people, so that way you're making about 9 meals, and then I always make one for myself, so you would make 10 meals total. This time we only had 7 girls, 7 people who were available to do it, and probably more next time because we're going to do an evening time. So we actually swapped around lunchtime. That way everybody could still get to the gym, and then you take your stuff in the cooler, and then you meet up at a friend's house around noon, and you swap those meals, and you go home with all of them. So I'm just mixing this up really good just to get the seasonings all evenly incorporated. And then I actually am going to use a cookie scoop. It's about a medium-sized cookie scoop, maybe a 1-inch, I'm not sure of the size. But I'm just going to use that, and you'll see that I start rolling them by hand, but then in my head later I'm thinking, well, since I'm not cooking these right now, I don't necessarily need to roll them because the cookie scoop gets them fairly round anyway. And then I'm going to freeze them for about 15-20 minutes just so they get a little bit more solid, so that I can get them into the gallon-sized baggies without them all mushing into, one giant patty. And then after I get those into individual baggies, so it does take a little bit of time to let them freeze, but I actually had about 4 or 5 9x13 pans or cookie sheets all in my freezers. So we have a big chest freezer, so I went ahead and was able to freeze them all within 30 minutes. And I will show you how I froze the sauce that goes with this. So I kept the sauce separate because some of the families do have little kids that don't really like spiciness. So my family absolutely loves spiciness, but for the families that don't want the sauce on the entire meal, they can just heat it up on the stove later, and whoever wants sauce can have sauce. So I'm just going to keep on rolling these up, and then we will move on after that. All right, so next up, I am going to show you what goes into the sauce for this. It is about 3/4 cups of that Frank Red Hot sauce, and then 3/4 cup of chicken broth, and then 1 packet of the the powder prepared ranch. I used the Hidden Valley kind this time. I usually have an organic one that I use, but I did not get to Whole Foods. So that was okay. I actually ordered all my groceries. If you watch, I have a grocery haul video where this stuff was in there. I ordered from Mariano's, and the girl was pretty funny. She was like, were you sure you needed 12 pounds or 12 packages of ground chicken? She just wanted to make sure, because she had charged me for it, and just make sure I didn't need 2 and actually put a 1 in front of it. But it was pretty funny. So I'm just using a medium-sized measuring cup here just to whisk, and I have my little mini whisk. to mix that all together. And then I'm going to put this inside a quart-sized baggie. And it's a double zipper baggie, which is nice. So I get these from IKEA actually, which there's 2 packs, 2 sizes of baggies in one box, which I actually really like. So I'm just getting all the air out. And then what I did later is on a cookie sheet, I laid those all flat so that when they froze by the next morning or later that day, I was able to slide those into the packages with the meatballs, and the sauce was kept separately. So you guys will see that at the end of the video. So I'm just gonna continue to mix up each little batch separately just so I keep my measurements correctly. And my video does die at the end, so you'll see it skips forward quite a bit in a little bit. All right, so here is one pan of those meatballs, and they are nice and firm. So here's the awesome part. I can just use a spatula and scrape those right off the bottom and pop them right into the baggie. So this is what I did for all the batches. Each batch had 24 meatballs in it. I did end up with about maybe 10 extra. I just kept those for our family because I can cook these meatballs without the sauce. And send them with my kids in their thermos. So I'm just counting to make sure I had 24 in there because I want to make sure I have a good size. So then the next morning, before I headed off to the gym and headed off to the meal swap, I went ahead and got out the sauce packets. And you could do this later in the day, but I was preparing already late at night. So I just waited till the morning. And I'm just double zippering this baggie. These are just Target brand baggies, the Up and Up brand, which I actually really don't like. So you can see I'm double bagging them because I want to keep any air out of there. So I'm squeezing any extra air out of those baggies and just making sure they're closed up. So next time around, I will most likely get some nice Glad baggies. And then these were just the storage baggies and not the freezer ones. So it's just what I had on hand, and I failed to grab the freezer kind. So double bagging them. And then most of the meals would get eaten in the next month. So these are perfect to stay in the freezer for up to like probably a couple months as long as you have like a deep freezer. So I continued that. I put them in my cooler. I was off to the meal prep party and it was awesome. Thanks guys. I hope you try this with your friends.